If you've watched my channel before, you know that I absolutely love the Unicron Trilogy era of Transformers because that's where I got my start with the franchise. Transformers Cybertron was my first ever TF show, and even though I was a Cybertron kid, I still loved Armada. I had the guidebook, I had the game, I just never had any of the toys. And now, Transformers Legacy is getting to fill that void. So far we've had Starscream and Hotshot. We've got Armada Prime on the way, and today's subject of deceptibot9 reviews is none other than Legacy Evolution leader Armada Megatron. Let's go! How's it going, everyone? deceptibot9 here, and thank you as always again for joining me for another Transformers Legacy review. Before we get into it, I'd like to ask, if you like what you see, go ahead, leave me a like. Plus, if you are not already subscribed, go ahead and just hit that subscribe button already, would you? And if you want to find me anywhere else on the internet, all of my social links are in the description down below. And without further ado, why don't we head on down to the review station to take a closer look at Legacy Evolution Armada Megatron. Alright, and here we are with Legacy Evolution Leader Class Armada Megatron, and as you can see, he looks fantastic. I've been having so much fun with this figure. As somebody who never had the original Armada Megatron toy, I think this one is absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure people who are bigger fans of Armada than I am feel that way as well, because me personally, I've got my updates with Legacy Metroplex and Override. They are fantastic modern updates of the original Cybertron figures, and I've been loving these Armada ones too, and I cannot wait for Prime. But yeah, as you can see, Megatron here, absolutely spectacular. So why don't we go ahead and get a little closer with him and check out those details. Alright, we'll come up first with the head sculpt, which I do think is absolutely magnificent. You can see he's got his little red eyes painted in there. Mine does, I don't know if you can tell on camera, it's kind of hard. Mine does have a little bit of a paint splotch in there. There you go. You can see it's not, it's got some black paint into the red eye there. Not a big deal. But of course, you can see the rest of his details on there. Looks fantastic. The silver face, as well as the pauldrons here on the side, the claw pauldrons, which look fantastic up in that gray with a little orange on the side. Coming down to the chest and shoulders, you can see we got some orange paint here, some silver, some black, with a little bit of purple trim. We got, of course, black, and of course, the standard Megatron, or Armada Megatron green there with a little bit of purple trim here, silver, Decepticon symbols there. Moving down a little bit more, he's got his little ab section. We're full of purple and some silver with a nice molded detail everywhere. And of course the arms as well. We've got purple molded detail as well everywhere there. And here on the forearms, nice gray, molded all in gray with a bunch of details there. Hollow forearms just due to the nature of transformation and such. Not a big deal, honestly, because there's not really many other hollow spots on him here. And he's got his hands, which are molded, and they're differently molded, actually, which I think is quite interesting. This hand is a little bit more of an open hand. We've got a 5mm port access there. All the fingers are molded and everything right there. This side, though, is a fully closed fist, and he's got like little claw gauntlets there, so a little bit of asymmetrical hands, which I actually think is really cool. I kind of really dig that. Moving down here to the waist, he's got molded detail here everywhere in the nice gray color with a little bit of red. Moving down to the legs, you got these little purple sections here with molded detail. I really like the way these thighs look. Not sure why, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Moving down to the legs, of course, we get a lot of green, a lot of molded detail as well with a little bit of silver here and there. Down to the feet are all gray with some black. Onto the bottom of the feet, we got some hollow cavities here in the feet. Again, not really a big deal because this is one of the only spots. We got 5mm pegs, a little bit of black. And if we go around to the back of the figure, of course, there is a bunch of stuff here as well because this all becomes, you know, the top of the tank. So we got molded detail here with a little bit of orange. We got some black and silver over here, molded detail. I remember, I think if I am remembering correctly, on the original toy, these pieces all flapped up open. They don't do that on this. They are just molded in, but it is what it is. A lot of molded detail going on here on the tank turret, as well as a lot of colors. You know, we got orange, we got our purples, our silvers, we got yellows, silvers, all this kind of jazz happening on the turret there. If you move the turret out of the way too, though, there is a lot of molded detail here on the back, right here, and on the inside of the turret as well. You can see some molded detail in there, which is really, really nice, and the fact that they don't have to do that, but they do anyway. And down here, the legs, of course, you got treads and just more of that green. So Megatron here is just absolutely chock full of details, and I absolutely love it. He looks spectacular all the way around, and I am very, very pleased overall with how he looks, because I think he looks fantastic. So let's go ahead and talk accessories. Now, he doesn't actually really have any extra accessories. There's no Minicon, obviously, and there's no real Minicon ports on him anywhere, which is a little upsetting, but that's been kind of the trend, I feel, with these modern Armada characters, is they're not including the Minicon ports, which is intriguing. I kind of wish they had, but at the same time, the figures are coming out very, very well, so I don't know if that's a compromise or not. But in lieu of accessories, what he does have is a lot of playability when it comes to his turret. So this front section here does remove, it comes right off, and you can fold either of these hands up, rotate them around, and you'll see there's a 5mm port on the inside of the hand, and you can plug the gun into the hand. So if you want him to have a gun hand instead of two hands, you certainly can do that. And of course, the opening of this is 5mm compatible, so you can just plug in your blast effects there, get a little pew, pew, pew action happening with that. Now, besides that, if you want to take his cannon, put it back on him there, we'll talk about that in a minute. You can raise this arm up and do, of course, the classic under the arm Armada Megatron pose, so it just folds in right there. So you can have it sticking out, shooting from his tummy, and again, if you wanted to put the blast effect in there, pew pew from the tummy, you can do that. Now, the last thing you can do with this, and I thought this was really, really neat. I believe this is what his Minicon power was when he had a Minicon. But what you're going to do is you're going to grab him by the waist right here. You pull up on it. It extends up a little bit. And you're going to pull the turret down so it's flat like this. From here, what you're going to do is grab it in a good spot. And you're going to rotate the turret all the way around to the front of him, collapse him back down, fold the turret back up, it'll click, and then you bring this turret to the front and unclick this one, bring those to the front, and now he's sticking his guns all the way out to the front. And I thought that was really, really neat. I kind of love how the waist spins around and everything. I think it's really, really cool. And again, these are 5mm right here, so you can plug that in there. If it works, there you go. And these are also the little 3mm port, so if you wanted to put blast effects on those, you can put them on there too. Absolutely crazy what you can do with this Megatron. So let's go ahead and reset him. All right, now that he's been reset, let's go ahead and talk articulation. And this is where my main gripe with the figure is, and it's going to be in the arms, but of course we'll talk about that. Although I do have one thing to note with the head here. These fins are not like glued in or solidly attached. They do come unpegged quite frequently if you are not careful. They do just slot in there, and I'm sure it's not hard to just throw a couple dollops of glue on there to make sure those stay. But just FYI, if that happens to you, it happens to mine quite frequently. If you give them a good squeeze, though, on the side, make sure they're really stuck in there, not a big deal. So his head is, I believe, on a ball joint. It's kind of hard to tell because his head is so big, but it does rotate all the way around. You can get him looking up that far, down that far. You can tilt side to side, so you got a pretty good, decent range out of the head. And now for the arms, he does have a little bit of laser prime syndrome, where the tank turret, or the tank treads, rather, do not articulate, but those are the shoulders, right? So the main articulation is right here. I find this really, really odd. So it swivels out to the side about that much, and this is the other problem. You try to move them around, and depending on your copy, your tank treads may not lock in. They don't lock in at all, so they might not stay, and they just might kind of flop around. So you kind of have to hold the turret or the tread as you're moving the arm around. But you can go up that far with them, down that far. They can go forward like that. So if you kind of want to go diagonal, you got to pull them. They're just on a weird joint system, and I wish they had engineered it slightly differently, or at least made the treads move with it. The swivel here at the arm, though, and you get an over 90-degree elbow bend, and you get swivels here on both of the wrists and you close that back up. The flap you can just use, you know, to get some more range out of. The waist here does swivel all the way around 360. Legs go forward that far. They go backward, not as far, just due to the turret. They go out all the way. Megatron with a beautiful 10 out of 10 split. They swivel here at the thigh, and you get a knee joint going 90, which is pretty dang good. Bring it back, it's on a ratchet. Ooh, really like that. And of course, he has his ankle pivot all the way that way. So Megatron is pretty decently posable, I would say, for a modern leader class. I just, the arms are a little bit of a hindrance. I wish they had done that slightly differently, but you know, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. Let's check out some comparisons here with Megatron, shall we? All right, here we have brought in the other Legacy Armada boys. We've got Starscream and Hotshot, which I think are both a lot of fun and I am really, really happy with. And of course, Armada Prime, whoopsies, fold those in. Armada Prime should be shipping out from Pulse this week, so look forward to that review when he gets in my hands. And here is Armada Megatron with our other legacy leader, Megatron, who is one of the best figures in the whole line so far. Transmittal to Megatron. I don't think I ever actually did a review on this guy, but I definitely should because he is fantastic. If you don't have this guy, you definitely need to pick him up. All right, let's go ahead and get Megatron transformed up into his tank mode. Now, he actually... pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it is a lot of fun. So let's do it. Alright, and here we are with Megatron in his tank mode. And I don't know what to say. I love it. I think it looks really, really sweet. I am a big fan of how this tank mode turned out. I think it looks really cool. I am a big Megatron is a tank fan. That's the class I fall in, is Megatron should be a tank. And here he is. It looks great. Everything comes together really, really well. And it looks just, of course, very much like the original Armada Megatron tank. So it's, you know, it's beautiful. But let's get a closer look at those details. Alright, of course we saw a lot of this in robot mode, but now, of course, it is in its standard tank position. So you can see up here at the front, he's got a Decepticon symbol with the silver. All this molded detail from the turret obviously has remained unchanged. You can still flap these up, though, if you want. It goes only up that high, so I don't know how good that'll do. Shoot it up into the sky, I guess. And the turret, of course, can, you know, pivot up all the way, and it gets you down that far, and it does rotate all the way around. So I do, or not all the way around, but it does rotate most of the way around. So of course I do like always when the tanks, whoops, lost his little gun there. I do like when the tanks have, you know, full rotation over their turrets and everything, or almost full rotation of their turrets and stuff like that. Now we get to see here what was the back of his shoulders is now the front of the tank. Again, we get these little pieces that would flap open in the original toy. We get some 5mm pegs here, which makes me think, I mean, these are all seem like they're vaguely Minicon-esque areas. So, I don't know. I wonder if they have something planned for Minicons down the line, because otherwise, I don't know. It's just weird that they excluded Minicons when they're such a big part of Armada's being. But I guess, you know, Micromasters didn't really work out so well for them, so they're still probably iffy on doing small things like that. I feel like Minicons could work as core figures. I don't know. It's just me. But anyway, we get some headlights here, so you can see a little bit of yellow paint there, some silver paint up here at the front for the sort of I don't know, the battering ram sections, I guess. I don't know. Coming around here to the side, you can see he's got some panels here. This is, you know, where they flipped out. We got tread with molded detail here on the treads. Down here, this is a piece we didn't see in robot mode, this little black section. It was like his abs piece, but now it's flipped up and is part of the tank. Over here, what was the side of his leg with, you know, some more tread molded detail there. These are all faux wheels, obviously. He does have a couple real ones down there, which of course can roll with. I mean, pretty decent. It's not a terrible roll. It's probably not as good as I would like it to be, but, you know, it is what it is. You can see his head, of course, here in the middle, and some orange there, and coming over to the side, same. It's molded a little bit differently, actually, on this side, which is pretty neat. You can see the sort of differences is we get like a little fuselage section here with all green going on right here with a little bit of molded detail there. This side is plain. There's no, you know, fuselage there, and there's a little bit of silver paint happening there, so that's pretty neat. Again, keeping the asymmetrical theme of the two. Even the paint up here is different, which I really, really like. This was, again, the front of his legs, so keeping the asymmetricality, which I think is really, really neat. And what were his feet are now the back of the tank, which of course the 5mm ports were there. So if you wanted to put some blast effects to give him a little bit of boost power, get that big one off, you can do that. It's always fun. I always like that. So yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to say about the tank mode. Underneath here on the bottom, you can see all the robot kibble, which there really isn't any besides obviously his head sticking out, which is neat. But we got some panels that were the side of his legs have folded out to form the sort of the bottom. He's got a little faceplate to cover his face so it doesn't stick out there, which is pretty neat. I mean, it's a fair decent size, but yeah, I mean, overall, really, really nice, solid little tank mode. I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. So we talked about articulation, obviously. The tank turret rotates around, goes up and down, and all the same things you can do with it here. Not as much to talk about with tank mode, so let's go ahead and get some comparisons. Here he is with the other two Armada Legacy characters, so you can see how they stack up together. Here's Deluxe Hotshot with Leader Megatron. Pretty big size size difference there, obviously, as it should be expected. And his most loyal, obviously, companion Starscream. There you can see how they stack up there. Look great together in vehicle mode, and I cannot wait to add Optimus Prime to this. And here's our two Legacy Megatrons. It's so hard to get them both in the same shot because this Megatron, Beast Wars Megatron, is so huge. You can see, you know, height difference there, how he stacks up. This Megatron compresses up fairly well, whereas this mode of this Megatron, he really expands. His robot mode is much more the compressed one. But yeah, you can see how a dragon and a tank look together, and I love that Legacy is giving us these together in the same line. I think it's super neat. Alright, so that's about going to do it for my closer look at Legacy Armada Megatron. So let's go ahead and tank our way back up to me for my final thoughts. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on Legacy Evolution Leader Armada Megatron? Well, I think he is absolutely spectacular. He is a very worthy update. As someone who's never handled the original Armada Megatron figure but adores the design and the character, I think this thing is absolutely terrific, man. I love it all the way around. If anything, I would try to fix the shoulders just because they pose, you know, the joint itself is a little weird, but for the most part they pose just fine, and it's not really, you know, a huge issue. It's just would have been nice if they were done a little bit differently. But yeah, man, I love him, and I really hope that Legacy continues to give us more Unicron Trilogy characters, especially from Armada and Cybertron. Throw a little Energon in there too. Why the hell not? Alright guys, that's going to do it for my full review of Transformers Legacy Evolution Leader Class Armada Universe Megatron. What a title. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts on Armada Megatron down below, whether you are an original Armada fan, whether you're not an Armada fan, if you're going to pick this guy up or not whatsoever. Let me know all that down below. And guys, as always, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. It does really, truly mean a lot to me when you make it all the way to the end and you interact and all that, you know, YouTube jazz. So, without further ado, guys, that's it for another episode of deceptibot9 Reviews. I've been your host, deceptibot9. Thank you, as always, for joining me, and I will see you guys later.